Welcome to Scriptural Science, a presentation of Truth and Life Institute, Boston, Massachusetts, and Oba, Nigeria. Written and published by Ifeanyi Chukwujima, scriptural scientist and a servant of God. This presentation's ID is Scriptural Science 0030. How religion never could resist prostituting herself with the kings and the powerful people of the world. For before this, Eliashib the priest had been put in charge of the storerooms of the house of our God. He was closely associated with Tobiah, 5, and he had provided him with a large room formerly used to store the grain offerings and incense and temple articles, and also the tithes of grain, new wine, and olive oil prescribed for the Levites, musicians and gatekeepers, as well as the contributions for the priests. 6. But while all this was going on, I was not in Jerusalem, for in the 32nd year of Artaxerxes king of Babylon, I had returned to the king. Some time later, I asked his permission 7 and came back to Jerusalem. Here I learned about the evil thing Eliashib had done in providing Tobiah a room in the courts of the house of God. 8. I was greatly displeased and threw all Tobiah's household goods out of the room. 9. I gave orders to purify the rooms, and then I put back into them the equipment of the house of God, with the grain offerings and the incense. 10. I also learned that the portions assigned to the Levites had not been given to them, and that all the Levites and musicians responsible for the service had gone back to their own fields. 11. So I rebuked the officials and asked them, "Why is the house of God neglected?" Then I called them together and stationed them at their posts. 12. All Judah brought the tithes of grain, new wine, and olive oil into the storerooms. 13. I put Shelemiah the priest, Zadok the scribe, and a Levite named Pedaiah in charge of the storerooms, and made Hanan son of Zachar, the son of Mattaniah, their assistant, because they were considered trustworthy. They were made responsible for distributing the supplies to their fellow Levites. 23. Moreover, in those days I saw men of Judah who had married women from Ashdod, Ammon, and Moab. 24. Half of their children spoke the language of Ashdod or the language of one of the other peoples, and did not know how to speak the language of Judah. 25. I rebuked them and called curses down on them. I beat some of the men and pulled out their hair. I made them take an oath in God's name and said, "You are not to give your daughters in marriage to their sons, nor are you to take their daughters in marriage for your sons or for yourselves." 26. Was it not because of marriages like these that Solomon king of Israel sinned? Among the many nations there was no king like him. He was loved by his God, and God made him king over all Israel, but even he was led into sin by foreign women. 27. Must we hear now that you too are doing all this terrible wickedness and are being unfaithful to our God by marrying foreign women? 28. One of the sons of Joiada, son of Eliashib the high priest, was son-in-law to Sanballat the Horonite, and I drove him away from me. 29. Remember them, my God, because they defiled the priestly office and the covenant of the priesthood and of the Levites. 30. So I purified the priests and the Levites of everything foreign, and assigned them duties, each to his own task. 31. I also made provision for contributions of wood at designated times, and for the firstfruits. Remember me with favor, my God. Nehemiah 13 verses 4 to 13, 23 to 31 NIV. Note, Eliashib the priest, Nehemiah 13 verse 4, who gave this special accommodation to Tobiah, had succeeded his father, Joachim, as the high priest of Israel. And his own son, Joiada, who also later succeeded him as the high priest, had allowed one of his sons to become married to the daughter of Tobiah's cohort, Sanballat the Horonite, both of whom had tried to stop Nehemiah and Judah from rebuilding the walls around Jerusalem. Joachim was the high priest during the rebuilding of the walls around Jerusalem and was a personal witness to the war, which Tobiah, Sanballat the Horonite, and other high-ranking enemies of God had waged against Nehemiah and the people of God about the temple rebuilding. And Eliashib was aware of Tobiah's opposition to the rebuilding of the temple of God, in which Eliashib had now given him residence, displacing the rightful occupants of the accommodation, simply to do favor for his powerful political friend, who for sure reciprocated the kindness he was given by this priestly family. And Eliashib, the high priest, allowed his son and successor, Joiada, to marry the daughter of their enemy, even though all the men of Judah who were in such marriages were forced by the people of Judah less than 2 decades earlier at the directives of Ezra to send away their foreign wives and children. And in a story that was not recorded in Thebible, but in secular history. Flavius, Josephus. The Jewish historian of antiquity, Johanan, who succeeded his father Joiada as high priest BC 410 to 371, ended up murdering his own brother, Jesus, inside the temple of God during a quarrel between the two, concerning who the rightful successor of their father should be. According to secular history, https://n.wikipedia.org/wiki/Johanan_high_priest, Jesus, brother of Johanan, son of Joiada, son of Eliashib, had obtained a promise of becoming the next high priest. From Bogoaz, a commander of Darius II of Persia, BC 423 to 404, assigned to the area. But the powerful Jewish friends of Johanan had confirmed Johanan as the high priest. As Jesus fought with Johanan over the position, Johanan savagely attacked him and decimated his body inside the temple of God. That Bogoaz forcibly entered the temple he knew he was forbidden to enter, claiming that he was pure, that the dead body of the savagely murdered Jesus that was lying inside the temple. And because of the extreme savagery he had observed around Jesus' dead body, Bogoaz commanded the Persians to punish the Jews for 7 years. About the priestly atrocities that were reported in Nehemiah 13, we are talking just the second, third, and the fourth generations of the high priesthood of the people of God, since after the exile, not the 10th or the 20th generation, that people had lost memory of the antagonism and opposition this powerful political figure, Tobias, confronted the people of God with. And because this irresistible prostitution between religion and politics was going on, the people went back to whatever lives suited them, backing away from their commitment to bring in their tithes as commanded by God, so that those who served the people before God could get their livelihood from the work they were doing for the people of God. And because they were no longer before taken care of, each one of them went back to their ancestral home to survive on the land like the rest of the people. The kingdom economy which God had built for the people of God fell to neglect and eventually disappeared altogether. The priesthood would always survive because they have powerful connections to politics which thrive on taxes, which were collected by force.